Good evening. This is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I welcome you to the 2 a.m. net. The purpose of this net is to promote the use of amplitude modulation and also to establish this part of this band as a place for AM activity in this area. Everyone is invited to listen. Licensed amateurs who can do so legally are encouraged to check in. We listen in the AM mode and transmit in the AM mode where possible. If you cannot transmit in AM, we encourage you to listen in AM and transmit in FM. If you are transmitting in FM, please adjust your transmit frequency a couple kcs above or below from our receive frequency. This facilitates the use of slope detection, that is, demodulating your FM signal with our AM receivers. When checking in, please announce your call sign in standard phonetics. Again, this is KC9UDX. My name is Matt, and I will now begin accepting check-ins. Any station wishing to check in, please come now.
This is N9CXK, November 9, Charlie, X-ray, Kilo.
This is W9JCC, Frank.
Alright, we got two so far. Recognizing N9CXK and W9JCC. Welcome to the net, Carol and Frank. And do we have anybody else? Come now, please. Alright, got one more. Recognizing N9FSE Mobile. Welcome to the net, Steve. Do we have anybody else? Come now, please.
Whiskey Bravo 9, Bravo Whiskey Papa.
Recognizing WB9BWP. Welcome to the net, Dave. Do we have anybody else? Alright, hearing none so far. That's a pretty good start. Obviously, we are in a different time zone this month. We are in standard time instead of daylight time, unfortunately. The news of the day is it is election day, of course. And first we'll go to Steve. Excuse me. Steve is mobile, so we'll go to N9FSE Mobile from KC9UDX.
Alright. Making my way through Waukesha. Let's see if I can get myself hopelessly lost and try to traverse the city. So this is probably some fairly high ground at this point, so that's going to change a little bit here, but for now we're up on level, almost on level with the hospital. Maybe I can be heard a little bit. Canceled my dinner stuff, and then maybe in a month's time, maybe we'll have my brother WF7U join us as a possibility as well, if everything works out. Dropping elevation, so I'll probably turn it back. Hopefully I can get to the site like I say, get on AM proper. Thanks for running to that, Matt, and could hear Dave in there. I can hear you well, and didn't hear Carol, but I'm sure we will once we get on site. Did I hear Frank in there a little? I think I did. This is N9FSE Mobile. Back to that. Over.
Alright, thank you, Steve. And you are very audible. Pretty good signal, lots of mobile flutter. Nothing unusual. Very fine business. We'll see if we hear WF7U in the future. And I honestly don't know how you manage driving around Waukesha right now. The construction is absolutely berserk. All of the construction is getting out of hand. It seems like every year they dig up and reconstruct all the same things they did the prior year, only they do it even more drastically. But this year especially, Waukesha is just a terrible mess. And honestly, I don't know what they're thinking, turning all the one-way streets into two-way streets. Well, they've been doing that slowly for a very long time, and now it's getting pretty bad, I guess. And with that, we'll go to the top of the list, Carol N9CXK from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX and the net, N9CXK. Very good. Good to hear you, Matt. You're extremely timely. Starting the net, that's great. And I can hear Steve just fine out here on Lake Beulah. I was detecting him, and I'm thinking, well, that's dumb. Why don't I switch to FM? So he sounded real good on FM. But yeah, a lot of mobile flutter. Sounds almost like he's using a quarter wave, maybe. I don't know. I don't have a lot to report. Been very busy here, but mostly with yard work. We have this summer pretty much gotten all the landscaping under control, and I got my building permit today, so the Tough Shed guys are coming out to build me a nice shed before winter. And I don't know. Work is busy. Trying to do all these projects now at the end of the year after they found the money for them. So I've been driving around a lot, Jefferson and Waterloo and Watertown and all over. So there's just a lot going on. But yeah, here at the house we're very comfy. Only thing that's left to do is the pier still has to come out. I'm just waiting for those guys to come and get it. They bring the barge with the little crane on it and they lift it out. It's more than I can handle now. It's out a ways. The legs are very long out at the far end, and it's all heavy. And the bolt lift is nothing I could manage anyways. So we just contract with them. But yeah, I have my daughter's dog is here visiting again for another couple months. So that's kind of fun. We haven't had a dog for a year now, so it's really nice to have her dog come here and visit. I don't know about the Hamfest on Sunday. I didn't hear a report of it. If anybody went to it, I'd like to hear a report of the Hamfest, see who was there and what was going on, if there was any interesting information. And I was looking at the meter here, and I'm thinking, boy, that power output doesn't look very high. Well, it's not, because it's SWR, and that's a good thing. Looks like I'm bouncing around 1.1 to 1 or 1.2 to 1, so that's good. This is my big collinear. Every time I think about it, Matt, I'm always interested in the big white collinear that you have there that goes, it's an antenna specialist, right? Goes back to the 80s or the 70s or something. That's really interesting. I have not found a catalog with that in it yet, but I probably will someday. So there. N9CXK. Over.
All right, thank you, Carol. Actually, the antenna I have is a Hustler G7. And it is a collinear 5/8 wave. I don't remember all the specifics about it, but I'm sure you can look that up. And I got that from Bill WQ9A many years ago now. It's a very, very reliable antenna, and it is very sturdy. It survives all of the ridiculous windstorms we have here amazingly well. I have seen that thing bend over quite far, and it's always there. It never falls down, never breaks. But fine business on all that. We haven't had a dog here. Oh, I don't even know when it was. It's probably been 6 or 7 years now since my wife's dog died. We had a female German Shepherd. Got that dog in 2005. I'm not sure what year it died, but it had to be 5, 6, 7 years ago, something like that. I do not miss the dog hair, and frankly, it's kind of nice being able to go on vacation places and not have to worry about the dog. Otherwise, it would be nice to have a dog again. I did not know there was a ham fest on Sunday, or I probably did. Somebody probably told me, and I forgot all about it, which is a shame. I did not have to work Sunday, but we did go hiking on Sunday, and that was kind of important. So I need the exercise and the fresh air, and did get some of that. So it's probably better that I did that anyway. And I am, I guess, ready for winter. There's a lot of things that need to be done before winter that aren't getting done and just aren't going to get done because I have to work. And one of the things that I think about almost every day lately is that it would be nice to put a amateur transceiver in the vehicle that I'm driving every day now. But the exhaust is too loud. It's ridiculously loud, obnoxiously loud. But unless we have a extended dry period in the winter, or for some reason work slows down, I am unlikely to be able to do anything about that. And with the loud exhaust, having a radio is kind of pointless, I guess. Anyway, with that, we'll go to Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Thank you, Matt. KC9UDX and the 2AM net. This is W9JCC. And good evening to everybody else that checked in. And I didn't have the presence of mind to go to the FM mode when Steve was on there. I should have done that. I've done that before, and I just didn't think of it. But I got kind of the gist of it. But it's a little bit scratchy. I couldn't shift my frequency here because I got it on a memory channel, and it's pretty much stuck there. Yeah, today we spent about 2 hours out there picking up leaves. Now, we already had our front area loaded with leaves so they could pick them up today, and they did. And the guy came with the back rake and pulled them all out to the street. And they were out there for about a half an hour, and we kept on dumping. I dumped about 3 more loads out on the street, and then they finally came and got them. And then we put a few more loads out on the grass for December 1st, so hope it doesn't kill the grass. And my 40-meter antenna is pretty much out of commission now. That last windstorm we had, it's a 40-meter inverted V fan dipole, and spacing is about a foot apart, and the wind just threw it up into a tree, and it twisted the wires, so the SWR is through the roof. So it works pretty good for receive, but not too much anything else. Stand by. And I know what you mean about the construction, Matt. I've encountered that from time to time going down into Waukesha, but I try to avoid it as much as I can. And I did not go to the ham fest on Sunday, so we had some other things going on. Anyway, that's about it on this one. I'll turn it back to Ned. This is W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And when somebody is transmitting on FM, that is one of those times that is very helpful to have this ancient radio with the analog tuning. I have no trouble just dialing off a little bit, and he comes in crystal clear. It does drift a little bit, so that's a disadvantage, but actually it's not all that bad. It's surprisingly stable for what it is, I suppose. And the construction in Waukesha has prevented me from driving through there, excuse me, commuting to work, which just lately has been a problem. They have closed Pilgrim Road in Menominee Falls without warning and completely closed it. They seem to do this every year. They close one lane out of two, probably 4 times a year, and then they close the whole road probably once a year. Well, they've done that again, and my only options are to follow their ridiculous detour, to go a little bit out of my way, or to go through the city of Waukesha, and I don't think right now going through the city of Waukesha would be an advantage, unfortunately. And now I lost my train of thought. I was going to say something else and I don't recall. But we will go next to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. I literally just got down in front of the radio like 2 seconds before I checked in. So, I don't know if that's good timing or just my usual wait for everything. I've only been in the city of Waukesha, driving through like downtown or something a couple of times ever. So I've always heard the horror stories and I just stay away, I guess. And the one-way to two-way streets, that's one of these trends, I think, nowadays, just like with the crazy rotaries and stuff, because Milwaukee is doing that too downtown. All these streets that were one-way back when I was going to school down there are now two-way, and most of those streets were kind of a 3-lane affair, 2 parking and maybe 1 driving lane. So they made them 2-way, but there's not really room, to make both ways equal, and it's just crazy. Like I say, I think it's just one of those trends again. Somebody in government reads something somewhere and says, "Hey, we should do this," and then before you know it, everybody's got it, even though nobody asked for it. Let's see. Oh, antenna stuff. Well, that's where I was today and yesterday and the day before, and I've been playing with some open wire feed on a dipole type thing, and I had a friend come out with his spud gun to try to get me a little better position on that, and then I said, well, hey, as long as you're out here with that, I bet you I can raise my regular off-center fed antenna. So we shot some lines, and well, that antenna's been out of commission now for about a week while I'm trying to get it raised, and everything that I can possibly run into, I have. I haven't turned off the timer here, so the radio is going to probably go in a little bit, so stand by. But anyway, so I'll be out again tomorrow and the next day, and then it gets really cold, so I probably won't be out for a while. Hopefully I can actually make some progress. It's amazing how these tiny little twigs of branches and bark can just grab onto things and not let them pass. Anyhow, there were 2 ham-fests this last weekend, and I think Steve might have hit them both. There was the 9-1 ham-fest down at the Elks Club on Saturday, and then there was a ham-fest in Kokona on Sunday. And I wasn't at either one. So, anyway, that's a good spot to turn it back to net. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And, well, you weren't late to the net. I almost was. I guess I had totally forgotten that it was Tuesday for some reason. Or I was preoccupied with the fact that I had to stop and vote on the way home from work or something. I don't know, but my wife all of a sudden said something at, maybe 45 minutes ago, said, "What day do you have the net?" And then it hit me. It's tonight, so I had to scramble and get going here. So that was an almost. I have not had that happen before. I am usually pretty well set. And yeah, the little twigs and things, they with this latest windstorm we had, of course, they're everywhere. And the stuff with the streets, I could write a book on all the different iterations the city of Waukesha has had in my lifetime. Starting with the downtown loop, they tried to mimic what Chicago has or had. I don't even know. I haven't been in Chicago in so long. They had this big one-way loop deal where you had to go all the way around to go anywhere. Then they changed that, and somewhere around that time they put a gazebo right in the middle of a five-way intersection and completely broke that up. That was a disaster. And then right after that they reopened that intersection because people complained, I guess, so that you could drive through it even though it wasn't designed to be that way. So you'd be driving over these cobblestones that were meant for foot traffic. But you couldn't. There were certain directions you could go and certain directions you couldn't go. And of course, this is the biggest, most important intersection downtown. And then they moved the gazebo to a different five-way intersection. And then they got rid of it completely. And now they're slowly, street by street, changing the one-way streets to two-way over the years. It's been quite a few years they've been doing this, but now it's getting out of hand. They've got some kind of off-ramp thing going between North Street and St. Paul Avenue, which is really ridiculous. I really don't understand why they think this is necessary, but I could never be a city planner, I don't think. Too much politics. Speaking of politics, I will not get into partisan politics, of course, but we do have some very early election results, which of course are meaningless. But with 365 votes counted in the Senate race, Ron Johnson leads by 286 to Mandela Barnes 79. And with that, we are at the bottom of the list. Do we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net? Come now, please. All right, hearing none. The only other topic I had written down here is that this coming weekend is Train Fest. Don't know if you guys go to that. We always do. Of course, we haven't been since before COVID. So it'll be interesting going back this year. And we'll go back to the top of the list. We'll see if Steve is still mobile. N9FSE mobile from KC9UDX.
Got there
thank you, Steve. But first and foremost, I don't know if it's your new power supply. I could not copy most of what you said. You have a very, very loud, high-pitched squeal, some kind of oscillation or audio feedback. But I guess I copied probably half of what you said. In any case, glad that you didn't go off the road on Sunday. I know exactly what that's like. Up until April of this year, I spent 6 years on a work schedule where I was literally falling asleep on the way home almost every day, driving home from work. So I can certainly appreciate that, and it is a really bad thing. And I suppose, since you're no longer mobile, I will put you back in the number 4 slot, which next time around hopefully give you a little bit more time if you want to try to get rid of that squeal. And next we will go to Carol N9CXK from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX and everybody else, N9CXK. Yeah, I didn't enjoy the squeal a lot, but I listened to the whole thing. I could hear what he was saying, okay? But, yeah, you gotta have an ear for that, that's for sure. Maybe a slightly deaf ear. Yeah, that was my mistake. The Hamfest that was down here was on Saturday, that's right. Yeah, and Kaukauna does sound interesting. I would love to drive up there for that sometime, but we always have just too much stuff going on around here, at least so far. That'll change. That will change. I was able to see part of the eclipse last night. There was a hole in the clouds every once in a while, and I could see that the moon was, I saw about 80% or so eclipsed. So it made sense when I saw it. Otherwise, if I didn't know there was an eclipse, I probably wouldn't have noticed anything. I wouldn't even have thought about it. But yeah, the moon is big and beautiful. Right now it's big and beautiful. There are some very high clouds in front of it, but it's looking good. And last night, yeah, I just saw a couple slivers of it, and that was all. But yeah, the leaf picking up, well, I'm not having the landscapers come and do the whole yard this year. We've done that for several years over here, and it's very expensive, so I've been using my lawn vacuum and my leaf blower sucker, and then I also bought a leaf mulcher, a lightweight leaf mulcher that has basically a string trimmer inside, so it's not so dangerous as having a blade or something. But it really goes, and it just pulverizes the leaves. So I did some pretty huge piles the other night before it rained. I was very happy that I did. And I think we got it under control. I think things are under control. And we brought up the last kayak today and put it up on some blocks. And the other ones are hanging in the garage now. I cleaned out my half of the garage, so both halves have been cleaned out, and both cars are in the garage, so I thought it was a good time to wash my car. And, I don't know, that's just kind of general stuff going on around here. We'll be starting to gear up for Thanksgiving pretty soon. We have the large family coming to our house every year, so it's going to be interesting. Whole different setup this year at this house, and we'll see how everybody fits in and see how the driveway works. Really, not a lot of parking over here, but we'll get her figured out. Just really starting to be able to enjoy some of my hobby stuff and that now. I'm not trying to fix something on the house every day, and it's pretty nice. Yeah, I'm not going to get into politics. I'm sure I get pissed off as soon as I heard somebody say something, so I won't talk about it. KC9UDX and 9CXK, over.
All right, thank you, Carol. And I get pretty animated about politics too, but I take a stance that is not, literally not very popular. I think most people are on one side of the fence or the other, and I am on a completely different side of a different fence, so I have some pretty strong opinions. Generally, don't talk about them, I guess. You know, you mentioned you have to be half deaf not to be able to hear through that squealing, and I think there's some truth to that. For whatever reason, I am not as deaf as most people, I think, or at least among my coworkers, that's true. I was working on a machine the other day with a severe air leak, and it was absolutely ear-piercing to me. Earplugs and everything. This air leak was just absolutely killing my ears and giving me a massive headache, and nobody else could hear it. So, I'm not sure if that's good or bad. I know my hearing is definitely not what it used to be, but it's apparently not as bad as everybody else's. Yet. My wife has taken care of the leaves. I don't get involved with that. I'm too busy at work. I know that she uses the lawnmower to mulch them. We have a lawn sweeper that she uses and a leaf blower, and I know she rakes them too, and I don't know what all happens. We used to have twice a year a large family gathering here. One in February and one in August. The one in February I think was larger. But a lot of people moved away, and then the whole COVID thing happened, and now nobody talks to anybody else anyway, I guess. So that doesn't happen anymore. And I guess I'll give an update. They say estimated 7% of the vote is in now. 184,359 votes. Mandela Barnes now leading Ron Johnson 68 to 32%. Again, with 7% of the vote, that's totally meaningless. But it is what it is. Excuse me. And next we'll go to Frank, W9JCC from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX, W9JCC. Very good doing that. And as far as the whistle, it sounded like a whistle, a real sharp shriek on Steve's signal. I could copy him through it. I could copy it 100%, but it was annoying. So hopefully he's got that squared away. And as far as the eclipse went, I knew it was going to be on. I think it was like around 5 in the morning, and that's my sleeping time. So I told my wife that she's the one that usually gets up and looks for that stuff. I said, if you see it, don't wake me up. Just tell me about it in the morning. But that looks like it was really kind of interesting to see. Let's see what else. You put John Deere tractor away for the winter, and we still have some grass to do. I was thinking about mulching, but I think I had it covered, and I had the battery tender on it, and it sits outside, but it's under a cover. And so the other day I ran across a real good deal. It was a promotional deal on high-capacity batteries for my Milwaukee tools. And the deal was that you buy 2 batteries, I think they were 5 ampere hour each, and for free they give you a hacksaw, Milwaukee tools hacksaw, which I did not have, and I always wish I'd had something like that. So we sprung for the batteries, mainly because when I had enough capacity necessity having a blower to blow leaves around. I had a single 5 ampere hour battery, but then I got 2 more, and boy, that made a lot of difference. So anyway, not too much more to report. I'll turn it back to Nat. This is W9JCC.
All right, thank you, Frank. And I have all old Milwaukee electric tools. My batteries are all 14 volt, and they're actually getting hard to get. But you can still get them, and it is still cheaper to buy the battery than it is to rebuild them. I wanted to do that, but it's a shame. It doesn't make sense to rebuild them. And probably never will. I do have a 28 volt hole shooter somewhere too, but I don't use that a lot, and I'm not sure if I have any good batteries for it. I got that from my dad when I don't know what the reason was he gave it to me, but he did. Other than that, all my stuff is corded. I think having old Milwaukee tools probably annoys my neighbor. He works for Milwaukee Electric Tool, and he is very proud of the stuff they have. He has an awful lot of their new stuff. And with that, excuse me, with that we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. I know a few guys that work and that have worked at Milwaukee Tool, but I have DeWalt stuff. I got that before I knew people that were over there, and that's probably one of the few examples of Chinese money that has helped out a company. You know, they're owned by the same people that make Ryobi tools. I forget when that was. I forget and the name of the place that bought them. But they pumped a lot of money into them and really got them rolling. For outdoor stuff, we've got a John Deere tractor also, but we started buying the Eagle battery-powered things. We have a regular mower, which we use in the ditch and around some trees and things, and a trimmer and a blower. And we were doing my wife did one round of the leaves like last week, and then we were going to do them this week, or the week before she did them. We were going to do them again last week, and one day when I went out to work on the antennas, the leaves were literally ankle deep in the whole yard. I even had to blow out a space just to work under one of the trees. But then the wind came up over the weekend, and there were almost no leaves left in our backyard. The front yard, still had a bunch of leaves, but the backyard completely cleared itself out. So that was pretty good. Let's see here. Politics. The one thing about, especially this election, but it's been building up over the years. Look at all the money that the TV stations made, and now what, right? Now they got to go back and get all the regular business type commercials that those people probably have been having to sit and wait while all the political ads run. And yes, the squeal. I copied everything Steve said, but yeah, the squeal was heavy duty. Don't know what that would be, but anyway. And it looks like, I had a problem last month. Maybe I shouldn't talk about it because then it'll show up. Stand by. But I did all kinds of playing around because I I thought I had it fixed. I thought it was just a somewhat loose coax connector. But then I saw it popping up on a couple of nets last week. So I take everything off. I put the radio on a dummy load with a watt meter, ran it for many minutes, no problem. Did all kinds of other things, tried different meters even to see what was going on, nothing. Everything worked fine. Put it all back together yesterday for MSOE net, and it acted up. And it looks like I traced it down to an alpha delta coax switch. A connector, and I still have to, I want to find out exactly what it is or was, but as the common connector on the antenna switch that would, after a while, it wasn't related to heat or anything else, it's just when everything shifted just right or something, it would, make the radio not happy and power would get cut back. Anyhow, what if those long stories? This is WB9BWP, back to net.
All right, thank you, Dave. That's kind of surprising. I've got a couple of those alpha delta switches, and I've had more of them in the past. And they are built amazingly well. But I guess everything has got some rate of failure. That's good that you found it. I guess that's certainly the last place I would look. Excuse me. And you mentioned you have DeWalt tools. I do not. The only thing DeWalt I have is a thickness planer, which is something that really irritates me. I only bought it because Home Depot had it in stock and it was made in the United States. But, I looked it up. Excuse me. It's all made in USA and everything. And I go to the store and buy it and take it home, and I get the one that's made in China. It's the same model. And it is not as good as the made in USA one. There's some feature of it that is not up to par like the other one. I don't remember what it was, but that's something that really irritated me. But there's a reason I don't buy other DeWalt stuff. One of the places I worked about a decade ago, more than that I guess, they had all DeWalt stuff. And just doing normal work with a DeWalt hole shooter, I used to literally have those things go up in flames all the time. And eventually I convinced them to let me trade in my DeWalt for a Milwaukee, and the Milwaukee never had a problem. But those DeWalt ones, I would literally burn one up in a day doing what I would consider normal work. Mostly putting Tapcon screws into concrete, or concrete block, or poured walls, or whatever, from what I remember. And with that, we're at the bottom of the list. We'll see if we have any more check-ins for the 2 a.m. net. Come now, please.
Kilowatt 9, Foxtrot, India.
All right, we got one. Recognizing K9FI, Jerry. Jerry, welcome to the net. It's been a while. I will turn it over to you. K9FI from KC9UDX.
Okay, Matt, I know it's been a while. I was on the rookie net and he shut down. And I got down late for that too. I didn't check in on that. But I thought I'd try out to see how you guys are coming in tonight. You're coming in with a readable signal. I wonder if BWP is on. I want to see how he sounds. But otherwise, we've been hanging in, and I hope you're doing well. So back to you, Matt, K9FI.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Well, it's good to have you back. And you're very copyable, 4 out of 10 on my meter. And you did just miss Dave. He was on before you. So you'll have to wait a while to hear him again, I guess. And again, that brings us to the bottom of the list. So I'll say, do we have any more check-ins? Come now, please. All right, hearing none. I guess there was one other thing I wanted to say for the net here. Unfortunately, bring up the passing of Bob N9PSN. I heard about that from an email from the Mars. So, we'll go back to the top of the list. N9CXK, Carol from KC9UDX.
KC9UDX and the net N9CXK. Very good. It's nice to hear Jerry in there. I hear Jerry on 10 meters, but it's not this clear usually, so that's great. It does look like a nice radio night out here. And enjoying everybody's comments. And yeah, just keep slugging it out with the leaves until the bitter end, until it gets too cold. Then I won't worry about it. Still have to get my little pickup truck clean and get that into the storage unit too, that has never seen the winter. It's a 1988 and it hasn't seen the winter yet, so got to get that put away too. And I think I'm done hauling. I hauled my daughter's church pew out of the garage and into the storage unit the other night, so that's out of my way too. Now the garage is actually kind of usable. So that's a good thing. Can't remember. What day was that? Was that Friday? Friday we had the winds, the high winds and everything. I think it was Friday night. Our power went out, wouldn't you know? And I don't have anybody to complain to. I think we lost power for about 6 hours, but it only took me about half an hour to decide to just go and get the generator and hook it up, and boom, we were back on watching TV, and the furnace was running, and the water pump was running, and I was really, really happy. I got my money's worth out of that 4 kW generator probably twice over already. I think we probably, and I bought it brand new. It was an inexpensive one from Tractor Supply. Bought a 4 kW generator, and then when we built this house, we put in the sub panel for the generator with cutover switches. So all I have to do is flip the switches over the center and down, and I got 6 circuits that go onto the generator, completely safe. And I just plug in the generator out in the yard with a big heavy cord. Away we go. So I did that. There was like a half a tank of fuel on there, and in 6 hours it hardly went down at all, but I did fill it up with some fresh gas, so as to keep it clean inside. And that was great. That was great. Except for in the kitchen we have recessed LED lights with a dimmer switch on them, and after about 5 hours the dimmer switch gave up the ghost, and all the lights just went off. But I guess it must have got hot or something, because in about 20 minutes I was able to make the lights come back on. So not really sure about that. I don't like those LED lights anyways. I think it's probably the dimmer switches. They are the noisiest things. I cannot have those on and operate 10 meters or 6 meters. Just can't. It's just so much noise that they put out that it's unusable. So I got to run downstairs and turn the lights off and come back up. Everybody sounded good. Jerry, like I said, you're sounding good, and I'm hearing everyone tonight. So that's nice. That's nice. My antennas made it through the wind again. Yeah, Matt, you're right about windstorm after windstorm after windstorm. But I think that's the way the rest of our life is going to be with the the way the climate is actually changing, and the temperatures vary wildly, and that causes a lot of wind. And that seems to be the way it's going to be. So, if they put up an antenna, you got to make it twice as strong as it used to be. I guess that's the only way you can do it. I empathize with the wire antennas being up in the trees and twisted around and all that, and I know it's hard. It's really hard to get at them. I know all about it. I work really hard to make these antennas remain accessible, but they don't always. I've already had the cords up in the trees get grown into the bark so that you couldn't move them anyways. That's pretty annoying. And when we moved, I left a very long piece of parachute cord hanging up from the top of one of the, 75-foot pine trees we had. I couldn't pull it up. I couldn't pull it down. I wasn't going to climb up there again, so I just kind of left it. Let the new people figure out what they want to do with it. And I'm browsing QRZ and QTH1 ads while we're talking here. But I have a nice array of stuff here, but I'm still always looking for 6 and 2 meter solid state amps to use with some of these smaller radios that I have here. So that's always something to look forward to. KC9UDX. Oh, and I thought that you had said once before that you had an antenna specialist's white fiberglass collinear antenna that you bought a long time ago, and that was your only antenna that you had up, but I guess not. I guess it's the Hustler instead. And I know that Hustler. That's the more industrial 2-meter antenna, I guess. And 9CXK, over.
All right, thank you, Carol. No, that must be somebody else. I have 3 antennas up right now. One is that Hustler G7. Another one is it's a similar one. It's a 70 centimeter Hustler collinear. I don't remember the model number on it. The 2-meter one it's 30 feet from the ground to the base. The 70 centimeter one is maybe 12 feet from the ground at the most. And I've got a Radio Shack disc cone that's up probably 3 feet higher than that 70 centimeter antenna. Those are the only antennas I have up at the moment. I have a 10 meter dipole which is wound up in my garden shed. I may put that back up one of these days. That runs between the mast for the 2-meter antenna and my chimney. And I don't quite remember why I took that down. My HF antenna rounds out of all of my antennas I've had here. That HF antenna is in pieces. It's laying in the ground somewhere. And the wind is bad. It's gotten much less bad here in the 20 some years I've lived here. But this particular area has always been really bad. It's less bad because there are trees now. When I first moved in here, there were not many trees to speak of. Now there are a few. And you mentioned you have a pickup from 1988, so do I. I have 3 vehicles from 1988. One of them is my Jeep, which does not see winters anymore usually. That is, I will not take it out on the salted roads. I will drive it around in the yard occasionally. But that spent most of its life being driven in the winter. I've only been not driving it in the winter for about 10 years. And the other 88 is my Eagle, one of the last ones made. I would like to store that in the winter, but that's not possible. I don't have enough places to store things. So that sits outside, but it's still doing okay. It was in almost perfect condition when I bought it in 2002, and now here 20 years later it's in pretty rotten shape, but considering what it is, it's actually not bad. And with that, we'll go to Frank W9JCC from KC9UDX.
Okay. KC9UDX and the net, W9JCC, and good evening, Jerry. Glad to hear you tonight. And Matt, the 10-meter dipole you got wrapped up there, you may want to put her up because 10 meters been pretty active lately. Sometimes I turn it on and I hear a lot of stateside stuff, and sometimes I turn it on and I hear people from all over the world. So things may be looking up on 10 meters. And I may have to get my tree trimming done here. I was going to do it before this winter, and I didn't get around to it, and now I'm suffering the consequences. The antenna stuck up in a tree, and it would have been okay if the thing didn't get twisted and the two wires didn't cross. They're insulated, but there's enough coupling in there where it really messes up the SWR, especially on 40 meters. And what else? I was going to say that I got started on the Milwaukee tools probably 10-15 years ago. They had a big promotion on a drill, a cordless drill, and the main reason I got it was because it had a half-inch chuck on it, which I didn't have on any of my other corded drills. And it came with 2 batteries and a case, and the whole business was like $84. It was a really great deal. So I picked that up, and then after that, every time I needed something, I went to the Milwaukee route. I'm just trying to go cordless as much as I can now. I've got a couple hundred feet of number 12 cord in the garage that I used to string out to the back of the garden when I had to bring power tools out there to trim the bushes and do that kind of stuff. And now I don't have to do that anymore. So not everything is Milwaukee. I've got some other lesser quality tools and cutters, but most of the stuff I've got now is Milwaukee tool, and I like that a lot. So I don't have too much more here. I think I'm going to pass along my 73s. I think it's getting near the top of the hour here, and I think I'm going to go up and see what the XYL is up to. But good hearing everybody tonight, and I will listen out here. 73s on, back to you, back to net, W9JCC.
All right. Excuse me. Thank you, Frank. And, one thing I discovered about 10 meters years ago, in the worst part of the solar cycle, I had no problem making contacts with that band in the middle of the night. If you keep it on and you scan and you listen all the time, there are little band openings that happen to distant places all the time, at least in the middle of the night. That was what I found out. I used to be able to talk to these guys in Texas almost every night at the same time. The band would open up, and it would be for like a half hour, and then it would go away. I did that for quite some time. And like I say, I don't remember why I took that antenna down. There must have been some reason. I just can't imagine what it was. So yeah, maybe I'll put it back up one of these days. And I guess we will say 7-3 to you. Look forward to having you on the net next month, 13th of December, if you're up for it. And next we'll go to Steve, N9FSE, from KC9UDX. The squealing is gone. I would say 100% copy. Everybody else said that before anyway, but I can hear you much better, though I hear a different receiver in the background. Back to you, Steve.
Yeah, I probably should, I haven't, I gotta clear the frog out of my throat here, but, happy to, have straightened that out. Love to give that, near the other tech, I'll have to give that other supply some love here and see what its problem is. Hopefully it's, nothing too major. But, we got a lot of stuff handled here. Need some notes on the last few rounds here. So, fix the power supply, that's the first thing on my list. Alpha Delta switches and surge protector should be pretty good, but a friend of mine in 919Q, Kenny, he calls it Alpha Delta because it problems with multiple, I don't know, surge protectors and switches, but point some of the receivers away here. So I got UHF on one side, VHF on the other making noise here, so he's not a fan. Kenny says they're right out. Melted Delta, he calls them, I think. And lately I don't have to cable in and out at the connector. I just flip a switch, and the switch that we're using on this station here is a diamond, and that switch is serving us well so far. Switches between the receiver here or just over to the remote cable that plugs in real easy on the bench. Now you see for the celebrity station here, the KISS station. And Carol was talking about all the power outages. I think that was mostly Saturday due to the wind, and even this site was without means for a bit. And so that's what told my early things were resetting various a couple of systems that didn't automatically come back online gracefully and could wait. So that was good. Evicted a mouse. Got friends in Mequon, they lost power too, and luckily he had a kilowatt Honda generator, and that kept the basics running for them. They had a tree down at the end of their cul-de-sac or something there. Well, at least I got to deal with mine yet. At least I got the grass cut short before the leaves came down, but I got to get out there with the leaf blower and corral some of that stuff, especially the back half. The front yard's pretty good. Yeah, man, I get that 10 meter dipole out. I should get my 10 meter. I bought a 10 meter vertical at South Milwaukee. I should get that up on some cable and all too, because the 10 meter's been screaming here and there at either 10 FM rolling in on the scanner in the kitchen, so that's great stuff. Oh, Frank's still there, 7-3. He's got a great signal. Everybody's got a great signal from here. And good to hear everybody in here tonight, especially Jerry, who checked in after a bit. And on the Milwaukee DeWalt thing, the Milwaukee stuff is just excellent. I think we touched upon that on a few nets back, but I inherited some of the DeWalt equipment. Ran out of decent batteries, so I got new batteries, a couple of new batteries just recently off of the South African river, the Amazon there, and that'll help me out at the ski hill, which I was out there Saturday, and then a little bit of wind, and then started raining a bit, and that chased me in. There was a big downpour, so I was just sitting out there longer taking care of some business. Then I finally left after the rain stopped at least, but yeah, then the wind really picked up, and there was more outages throughout that county, and Milwaukee and Waukesha, lots of trees down in West Dallas again. I can't believe there's any trees left that weren't tenderized by previous storms, but even West Dallas had a lot of trees down, so all fine in my neighborhood at home, so that's good. Things came back here and have been running good here since, so that's a good report from here. Got to do a little mouse duties here in a little bit and reset a trap, and that's the worst from here, other than still getting ready for ski season at the ski hill. Back to that control. This is November 9, Foxtrot Sierra Echo. On the big stick, New Berlin. Over.
All right, thank you, Steve. One thing I noticed here, your signal is much your signal strength is excuse me, much higher without that squealing noise. So it's some kind of RF oscillation, I would suspect. It's up significantly, I would say 10%. And yes, it was Saturday and Sunday that the power did go out. Did not go out here, which was kind of shocking. It normally does, but not this time. The reason I know it was Saturday is because I worked Saturday, and the power went out, I think 4 hours after I left, which is a very good thing. If I hadn't worked Saturday, I would have had to work Sunday, and I would have had my hands full with that one. I guess they had just gotten everything. The power came back on at 10 o'clock Sunday morning, and they had just gotten everything finally up and running. It took a couple hours, and then the power went out again. Went out about 4 in the afternoon on Sunday. I don't remember it being that windy on Sunday, so I'm not sure what that was all about, but excuse me. Looking at the election results, still the only race reporting, Wisconsin Senate. Now with 14% of the vote in, Mandela Barnes leading 57 to 43%. 14% of the vote, still pretty insignificant. So read into that what you like, I guess. And with that, we'll go to Dave, BWP from KC9UDX.
Okay. Yeah, we lost power Saturday, also Saturday morning. Frequently we lose power after a storm. But this was, 2 or 3 hours worth in the morning. We've got a Kohler natural gas fired generator on the house. Did that a few years ago after multiple multi-hour outages. Man couldn't keep up with cleaning up the basement. And that certainly has paid for itself over the years. Can almost hear Jerry, which, man, so the band's got to be good here tonight. He was probably over on our looking net that we have on MRAC repeater Tuesdays at 8 o'clock. And that's been going pretty well. I don't have to run it all the time anymore. That's good. A couple more guys, and then I won't have to be involved at all, and that'll be even better. I forget what we had last week. I think there were 13 or 14 on that one. Yes, 10 meters is definitely picking up. The Q Worldwide contest was a couple weeks ago. I did not get to spend much time at all, but I tried to get a little bit done Sunday morning and made a bunch of 10-meter contacts, 10 and 15. So yes, those bands are waking up. Yes, I heard about PSN. I've got a Kenwood F6 tri-band HT that I bought from him a few years ago. That was before that's when his wife was still alive, before he moved, when he was still over by St. Joseph's Hospital. And we used to have a church pew also. Sold it to a guy my wife worked with. He had a hard time getting that. Well, first he had to get it up the basement stairs, and then he had to get it into his truck. Let's see. Oh, and the antenna switch thing. I actually kind of found that was the last thing I looked at, and it was kind of by accident, as I tried all sorts of things. I thought it might have been a right angle coax connector I had, and I replaced a bunch of coax and connectors and things, and I think I just bumped the common lead. There's a timer. I think I just bumped the common lead, and I noticed the noise in changing. And it's like, oh, why is that? And so then I started trying to vigorously wiggle that, and I could sort of make it come and go. It wouldn't go away completely, but I could change the noise level that I was receiving. So I happen to have a spare switch, went over to that, and I have not seen the issue yet. So I don't know if I can pronounce it as fixed, but I'll say it's close, if nothing else. Anyway, with that, this is WB9PWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. And yeah, as soon as you assume something is fixed, then you find out the hard way that it isn't. There's always one of those other problems that shows up. I know exactly what that's like. And I had a handful of different brands of antenna switches here at one time. I think this is the only Alpha Delta product I've ever had is these switches. But these switches are far better than the other ones that I've had. I don't recall what other brands I've had though. But I did sell all those other ones, and I bought more Alpha Delta ones. That's why I have these. Anyway, next we'll go to Jerry K9FI from KC9UDX.
All right, Matt, you're coming in with a reasonable signal. Carol, I could hear barely, but if he's the right Carol I'm thinking about, he's out in, I think it's East Troy, something around there. And I don't hear him very good on 10 meters on the net either, but I used to when he had his other antenna up before he moved. And Dave, he was no copy at all, so I didn't hear him a bit. But Steve was coming in fine. Of course, Frankie's bending my needle. It's nice to hear you fellas, and that's why I came down here. Been quite a while. And I was on the rookie net for a little bit, but I was on the Miller Valley net with the Fraser. That's why I was late after we got done with the net. Fred and I were talking about entry FJP and FT8 and all that jazz, and that sort of thing. I did go to the Swap Fest last Saturday. We had a very nice time. It was a nice Swap Fest. I enjoyed it. My wife had been talking about learning CW, so a guy was selling a really nice venture keyer there at a reasonable price, so I purchased that. And I got the black one. She's got the chrome one. And of course, I had to get all the dirt off of it and get it adjusted. I'm glad I owned one of those things, because you got to learn how to adjust them so they work right. Because that little spring, if it's on the wrong side of the pivot, it doesn't work very well. But anyhow, we got it going. And now I think I'm looking for a ham keyer that you can have on the practice. I got an old ham keyer. It's called a model HK5A, but it's a very simple one. It doesn't do all the message saving or reading or anything like that. I'm debating about getting her one that does read Morse code, but I haven't done that yet. And thinking of tipping my teleovers when I get the lead out, because I got a problem with the beam up there. I think my coax is bad. It's been up there for many, many, many years. And I might do that tomorrow, depends if I get the ambition. Otherwise, it'll stay till springtime. I guess I'm getting old and I don't worry about it anymore. Other than that, what else is I going to comment about? I do get on the 10-meter net, 80-meter net every day if you guys are ever interested. 39.85 at 8 o'clock. And that's going on. We have quite a few fellows in there. And we talk about antennas. Well, the antenna I'm talking on right now is a 17-foot collinear space needle, I call it. I got that from the guys up in Green Bay quite a few years ago, and it's on about 20 feet of aluminum tube. I'm tempted to raise it another 10 feet just to get a little bit better propagation, because I have a hill to the south of me, and that doesn't do any good for 10 meters. But 2 meters, I should say, and 440, the same thing. Anything on VHF. And it does do 20, which I get on Oh, no, it doesn't. It's only a dual bander. I got another. I talked too long. But anyhow, I got a 220 antenna. That's a vertical that I picked up when I bought my 37A 220 radio, which I haven't been using much. It's a nice band, but nobody's on it. Other than that, that's about the extent of it. And I've been watching the election events so far and keeping my fingers crossed. So anyhow, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. So anyhow, it's nice to hear everybody on 2 meter AM again. It's been a while. And back to you, Matt, K9.5.
All right, thank you, Jerry. It's also partly my fault that 220 is dead because I'm not active on there anymore. I just don't have the time. Hopefully one of these years I get time to do this stuff again. But I used to be fairly active on 220. Now not anymore. My radio in here for 220 is dead. I have to fix that. That stuff is starting to pile up, though. That's the problem with not using this stuff, too, is it dies quicker. Excuse me, but we are at the bottom of the list. And I hate to say it, but I'm starting to get tired here. So we will go back to the top of the list. And we'll call this the 7-3 round. And Carol, N9CXK, it's your turn.
Oh, that's me. Okay, N9CXK. Well, good. Well, Matt, does sound like you have a lot of projects there. We have more antennas than I thought. Well, somebody was talking about they only had the one antenna. And it was the big antenna specialist fiberglass 2 meter antenna. Well, I don't know who that was. I thought that was you. But, yeah, I'm sorry that Jerry can't hear me. I can hear Jerry just fine. That last transmission was real good, and I'm using about the same antenna he's using. But I think my radio here it says it's going to transmit 20 watts, so that's about all. That may be a little underpowered, but that's all these... a lot of these solid-state radios will do. Apparently it sounds alright. I was doing a little adjusting on the compression and the mic gain, so I don't really know what it sounds like. Everybody says it sounds fine. I don't want to overmodulate, and I don't want to have it sound boomy or anything. So if I need to adjust something, somebody just let me know. Other than that, the lake is as clear as glass right now, and there's nobody out in their boats, and probably all we're going to see now is a few fishing boats, and my kayak will be out there sometimes. I have a little bigger kayak, and I still intend to do some fishing in there before the ice, so we'll look forward to that. And hoping this work week will go fast. I don't know, a lot of things going on, but the more that goes on, the faster it does seem to go. But Matt, get that 10 meter antenna up. Yeah, things were... 2 weekends ago was the CQ Worldwide Sideband Contest, and it was amazing. There were stations all the way up to 28.9 on sideband. The whole band was full, and call signs that I had just never heard before. And then I ended up working a guy in Spain on 29.125. I was looking for AM people, and then I went up a little higher, and there he was calling on 29.125. But he didn't sound right, and I kept fiddling around, tuning, and then I said, wait a minute, and I flipped to FM, and there he was. He was on 29.125 FM from Barcelona. And talked to him for a while. It was very nice. Then I went to QRZ and looked him up, and boy, I know why he sounded nice. His antennas were very nice. So everybody's usually doing the hard work for me these days. Everyone have a good rest of the week here. You're all sounding good, and I'm very glad to be part of this. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Matt. N9CXK 730.
All right, thank you, Carol. Say 7-3 to you. It's always good having you here. And there's one problem with me putting up that antenna if I get time, is that I still won't have time to connect it. I won't have time to set up the 10-meter radio in here again, and I won't have time to operate it. But we'll see. You never know. And I guess if I wait, a couple more weeks, the antenna will work better, because I'll be putting it up in the cold, I guess. And with that, we'll go to Steve and 9FSE. It's your turn on the 7-3 round from KC9UDX.
Alright, I'm just trying to get some interest here with my brother, sending up pictures across the country. He'll be visiting in a month's time for our next session, so maybe you'll have a guest or two see this show. Or not, depending on how things work out. But sending pictures and tell him what we're doing, and then he says 2 a.m. And I had to explain all that. So good fun as usual. Good to hear everybody out here. Jerry is a good 8 to 9 on the big stick here, of course. So I can hear all of our check-ins nice, so it's good to have that. And things are shaping up all around, so. I might have to. I got the stack of post-it notes. I better make a note on this supply here for checkout, but I don't think I'll forget. But I just gotta be nice to use the supply. It's up on the shelf, but we'll drag this one out on the back shelf if it's gonna behave. And so I don't know if it's just because RF cable travels. It shouldn't be because the RF shouldn't be at all, but because we're plugged in the same outlet strip. But the RF does swing along the power cables, but I wouldn't figure that. Of course, with AM you never know, but I wouldn't figure it's because that signal's going by there. But we'll start dissecting that. We'll get, hopefully sooner or later, we'll get back to the new supply and keep the original supply here for backup. But for now, it's still primary. There's running any deer on the road out here. Usually I know there's lots of deer around. Hopefully no critter runs off with the mouse on the trap, because I gotta release the mouse from the trap and then reset that. And all the usual regular fun. I have nothing much more to add. Everybody sounds good. Keep beating the drum for the net. I didn't put anything on the Facebook this time, but I think I did a time or two ago. So we'll have to keep on that. See what we can get for additional interest. And I was doing a lot of mentioning some mentioning other various wide area machines, but I think we woke some of our regulars up, but we didn't get any newbies. And even Dean's been trying too. I heard that on the rookie net the other week. And I know some, and MSOE, and I think some of those guys are going to give it a spin maybe, but I don't know if they didn't hear anything, or if they just didn't get around to us this time. So, I'll leave it at that for now. Good to hear. I'll see 73. I'll stick around just a tiny bit, and then, of course, spin the dial like I often do. Looking forward to next week, and nice sessions and good activity lately on this net. So happy to be here when I can make it. KC9UDX and company. This is MIFSE. Over.
All right, thank you, Steve. I'll say 7-3 to you. Always good having you here. Excuse me. I don't recall what power level you run. Something probably very low, lower than I do. I was going to mention this before when Carol mentioned 20 watts. I'm only putting out, I think, 6 watts. excuse me. And with that, you were also mentioning the mouse trap. I did that last year, I think it was. I had caught a mouse down here, and it was still in the trap, and I took it outside, and I think I had found out that it had snowed, so I came back inside to get some shoes to carry the mouse out to the garbage, and in the meantime something took the trap. I had it up on a table or something too, so it's not like it would have been all that easy, but something took the mouse with the trap and all. Anyway, with that, we'll go to Dave, WB9BWP. It's your turn on the 7-3 round.
Okay. Well, it could have been while I'm out there today working in the yard on antennas, and a fox comes running through the yard. Ran into the neighbor's yard to do his business and then carried on his way. So, you never know what kind of wildlife it is. Last year we had a real problem outside. We've got a couple of wood piles and stuff, and we had a bunch of traps that we were setting because there were mice running around all over. But this year I haven't seen much of that at all. And I bring up the net on like the MSOE net, which is Monday nights at 8, and there's a bunch of new hands that are students this year. In fact, they're running the net now. And I talked about the net, the 2-meter AM, and the big question was, what radios do AM on 2 meters? To be young again, right? 73 to everybody that made it here this evening, and those of you that want something to do on other Tuesdays, cruise by the rookie net 14539 at 8 p.m. Yeah, there's an Ozaki net too. A couple guys give me grief about making the rookie net same time as Ozaki, but if you really want to do nets, there's nets every night of the week from 7 to 10 at least. So 73 to everyone, and it's good to keep this going. And yeah, there are radios that do AM on 2 meters. This is WB9BWP.
All right, thank you, Dave. Say 7-3 to you. And not only are there nets all of the time, everybody wants to have their net on at their chosen time, and that's it's impossible to appease everybody. It was very hard to settle on second Tuesday of the month for this net. I don't remember how that went, but that was the way to satisfy the most number of people at the time. And I guess we haven't had a good reason to change it since. Which is probably a good thing. I would have a hard time adjusting if we moved it again. And with that, we'll go to Jerry, K9FI. It's your turn on the 7-3 round from KC9UDX.
Alrighty, Matt. Nice to hear everybody. Like I say, the signals aren't too strong. You might give me the frequency of each net. I wrote that down a while back, but who knows where it's stuck. But what happened when you're on the Miller Valley net, we're talking about DXing and stuff, and they were telling me that I should put all my stuff on the logbook of the world. So I went back and was looking at some of the contacts I made when I first got my new license or call sign. You believe I got that in 2009? That's how long I've been a K9FI. I was an extra about a year or two before that. But I applied for my new call sign and got it in July. I think it was July of 2009. So I started looking at some of the interesting calls that I would like to get, or try to get. Looking up and see if there's still alive yet, and maybe go to a club log and do that. Pay the $5 or whatever it is just to get the nice cards, because some of them are from nice rare countries that I haven't heard in quite a few years. But anyhow, that's what I'll probably do a little bit tomorrow. Besides run around outside and do something anyhow because of the nice weather. Other than that, I will try to come down here more often. And I wrote the next get together, and I even had to look up the frequency tonight. But it's nice hearing everybody, and AM is still fun, and it's nice not having to go through a repeater. So, Pat, have a great time, and we'll look for you at the next meeting, the next get together. K9.5 Action Net.
All right, thank you, Jerry. And you got that call sign in 2009. I didn't get mine until 2011. I don't remember when it was in 2011 that I became a general. I was never a technician nor a novice. And I think 3 or 6 months later I became an amateur extra. Anyway, I will say 732 Jerry, thank you for being here. And I will say this concludes the 2 a.m. net. Feel free to rag chew on this frequency after my transmission, and maybe Jerry, somebody will have the frequency you're looking for. I do not. But we will meet again on the 13th of December. Until then, this is KC9UDX 73, and good night.